He'd been selling vitamins and health supplements for 11 years, running a small shop on Main Street, advising customers about nutrition and wellness, helping people make informed choices about their health. Just another elderly businessman trying to stay active in retirement, until a contaminated batch of supplements started killing people across 3 states, and suddenly, the quiet shop owner revealed why he could identify pharmaceutical dangers that stumped FDA investigators. Harold Benjamin Thornton was 76 years old, with silver hair combed precisely and keen brown eyes that seemed to analyze everything they encountered with scientific curiosity. His careful hands bore the permanent stains of someone who had spent decades handling chemical compounds, and his voice carried the measured cadence of someone who understood that precision in language could prevent dangerous misunderstandings about substances that affected human health. Welcome to the Human Stories. Before we continue this powerful tale of hidden expertise and life-saving knowledge, tell me in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories about quiet protectors deserve to be heard, hit that subscribe button. Thornton's Health and Wellness occupied a narrow storefront on Main Street in Springfield, Oregon, between a used bookstore and a cafe that had been serving the same community for 40 years. The shop was organized with scientific precision, vitamins arranged alphabetically, supplements categorized by function, and health products displayed with detailed information about ingredients, dosages, and potential interactions that might affect customers taking prescription medications. Harold had operated the store for 11 years, transforming it from a struggling supplement retailer into the trusted health resource that Springfield residents relied upon for everything from basic multivitamins to complex nutritional protocols that supported serious medical conditions. His consultations went far beyond simple product sales. Customers received careful education about how supplements worked, why specific dosages mattered, and how various compounds could interact with prescription drugs in ways that could be beneficial or dangerous. Mrs. Patterson, I see you're taking warfarin for your heart condition. That means we need to be very careful about vitamin K supplements because they can interfere with your blood thinners' effectiveness. Let me show you some alternatives that will give you the bone support you need without affecting your cardiac medication. These detailed consultations represented more than customer service. They were informal pharmaceutical consultations that helped community members navigate the complex intersection between prescription medications and over-the-counter supplements, preventing dangerous interactions that could hospitalize people who were simply trying to improve their health. The local medical community had come to respect Harold's expertise, with several doctors referring patients to him for supplement advice that complemented their medical treatments. His knowledge of drug interactions impressed healthcare professionals who had learned to trust his recommendations about which products were safe for patients with specific medical conditions. What none of them realized was that Dr. Harold Benjamin Thornton had spent 42 years ensuring the safety of pharmaceutical products before they ever reached consumers. Harold lived alone in a comfortable house 10 minutes from his shop, a well-maintained craftsman-style home that reflected the organized mindset of someone who had spent decades managing details where precision could save lives. The main living areas were furnished practically but warmly, filled with books that suggested intellectual curiosity rather than academic pretension. But the home office revealed technical capabilities that exceeded retail supplement knowledge. The walls displayed certificates and awards spanning 40 decades of pharmaceutical research, advanced degrees in medicinal chemistry from prestigious universities, patents for drug manufacturing processes that had improved medication safety, and recognition from industry organizations for contributions that had protected millions of consumers from contaminated or dangerous pharmaceutical products. Bookshelves held technical references that most pharmacists would find challenging, toxicology texts detailing how chemical contaminants affected human physiology, analytical chemistry manuals for detecting trace impurities in pharmaceutical compounds, and research papers on drug manufacturing quality control that Harold had authored during his corporate career. And in a locked filing cabinet that seemed excessive for a small supplement store were documents that would have transformed how Springfield's medical community viewed their local health shop owner. A PhD in pharmaceutical sciences from Stanford University, senior scientist credentials from major pharmaceutical companies, and consulting agreements with the FDA for investigating contamination incidents that threatened public health. Dr. Harold Benjamin Thornton, one of the pharmaceutical industry's leading experts in drug safety and contamination analysis. His career had focused on developing quality control procedures that prevented dangerous substances from reaching consumers, investigating contamination incidents that could affect millions of people, and establishing safety protocols that protected the pharmaceutical supply chain from accidental or intentional tampering. The work had taken Harold from laboratory research that identified new contamination risks to manufacturing facilities where he'd implemented quality control systems that detected problems before they affected consumers. His expertise was crucial in developing the safety standards that governed how pharmaceutical companies tested products, monitored manufacturing processes, and responded to contamination incidents that could cause widespread health emergencies.
Retirement in 2012 had been voluntary rather than mandatory. Harold had accumulated enough years in pharmaceutical research to retire with full benefits, while still young enough to pursue business interests that didn't involve corporate pressures and regulatory deadlines that had characterized his professional career. The supplement store wasn't about financial necessity. His pharmaceutical industry pension provided comfortable retirement income. It was about continuing to help people make informed decisions about substances that affected their health, using technical knowledge to serve individual customers rather than corporate interests, and applying analytical skills to retail consultation that protected community health on a personal rather than industrial scale. But 42 years of pharmaceutical safety expertise doesn't disappear because someone changes from corporate research to retail sales. And Harold's trained eye continued monitoring product quality and safety issues that could affect his customers and the broader community. Thursday, September 28th started like every other business day. Harold arrived at his shop at 8:30 a.m., reviewed overnight emails from supplement manufacturers, and prepared for another day of providing health consultations that help customers make informed decisions about nutritional support for their medical conditions. The first customer was Martha Stevens, a regular who managed diabetes through careful diet and targeted supplements that supported stable blood sugar levels. Harold had worked with Martha for 3 years, developing a supplement regimen that complemented her prescription medication while avoiding interactions that could affect her glucose control. "Morning, Harold. I need to refill my chromium and alpha-lipoic acid supplements. My last blood work showed excellent glucose control, so whatever we're doing is working perfectly." Harold prepared Martha's usual order while conducting the careful review that characterized all his consultations. "Martha, have you experienced any unusual symptoms lately? Changes in energy levels, digestive issues? Anything that might indicate your supplement routine needs adjustment?" "Actually, yes. I've been feeling a bit nauseous in the mornings, and my energy seems lower than usual. But my blood sugar readings have been stable, so I assumed it was just seasonal changes." Harold paused in his preparation of Martha's order. Nausea and fatigue in a diabetic customer could indicate various issues, from medication interactions to contamination problems that affected product safety. "Martha, I'd like you to bring in the new multivitamin bottle so I can check the lot number and expiration date. In the meantime, discontinue that specific product and see if your symptoms improve." Harold spent the next 2 hours conducting informal interviews with other customers who had purchased products from similar lot numbers. What he discovered confirmed his worst fears. 6 regular customers were experiencing similar symptoms after starting supplements from the same manufacturer's recent production runs. Dr. Harold Thornton recognized the constellation of symptoms immediately. Someone was experiencing systematic contamination in their supplement supply chain, affecting products from multiple manufacturers, but following patterns that suggested common raw material sources or shared manufacturing facilities.
The symptoms weren't severe enough to trigger medical emergencies, but they indicated low-level poisoning that could cause serious health problems if exposure continued. Harold needed to investigate further while protecting his customers from potentially dangerous products. He began systematic analysis using techniques learned during 42 years of pharmaceutical contamination investigation. Chemical testing of affected supplements using analytical equipment he maintained for quality control purposes, comparison of lot numbers and manufacturing dates to identify contamination patterns, and coordination with customers to track symptom development and recovery rates. What he discovered was worse than routine manufacturing defects. The contamination showed characteristics of intentional pharmaceutical tampering rather than accidental quality control failures. Chemical signatures indicated deliberate addition of compounds that would cause chronic health problems without triggering immediate medical attention, targeting supplements that were distributed across multiple states to maximize exposure while minimizing detection. Dr. Thornton was looking at evidence of pharmaceutical terrorism designed to poison consumers through contaminated health products. He needed to report his findings to appropriate authorities, but doing so would require explaining how a supplement store owner possessed the expertise to conduct pharmaceutical contamination analysis that exceeded capabilities of most commercial laboratories. Dr. Thornton faced a choice that would define his impact on public health. He could file routine reports through commercial channels, hope that FDA investigators would eventually identify similar contamination through their own testing, and risk allowing pharmaceutical terrorism to continue while bureaucratic processes slowly address threats that were actively poisoning consumers. Or he could use 42 years of expertise in pharmaceutical safety to protect public health the way he'd been trained to do when similar threats emerged during his corporate career. Dr. Thornton made his decision in approximately 30 seconds. He contacted the FDA's Office of Criminal Investigations through professional networks that retained his security clearances, identified himself by credentials that carried immediate authority among pharmaceutical safety officials, and provided detailed analysis of contamination evidence that indicated coordinated pharmaceutical terrorism affecting supplement supply chains across multiple states. Dr. Thornton, this is Special Agent Sarah Chen, FDA Office of Criminal Investigations. Can you provide specific details about the contamination patterns you've identified? Harold's voice carried the clinical precision that had characterized thousands of similar reports during his corporate career. Agent Chen, I'm observing systematic contamination in supplement products from multiple manufacturers with chemical signatures indicating intentional addition of compounds designed to cause chronic poisoning without triggering immediate medical attention. The contamination pattern suggests coordinated tampering at the raw material supply level. Sir, our preliminary testing hasn't detected the kind of contamination you're describing. How did you identify these chemical signatures? Agent Chen, I'm conducting analysis using pharmaceutical-grade testing equipment in my retail location. I have 42 years of experience in drug safety and contamination investigation, including consultation work with the FDA on similar incidents. Within 6 hours, federal agents specializing in pharmaceutical crime were working with Harold to analyze evidence that revealed one of the largest pharmaceutical terrorism operations in American history. The contamination had affected supplements distributed to over 40 states, designed to cause long-term health problems that would be attributed to natural causes rather than criminal activity. Dr. Thornton, how did you identify the contamination patterns so quickly when our standard testing procedures missed them? Agent Chen asked during the investigation coordination. Harold looked around his supplement store that had been transformed into a federal crime scene investigation center. Agent Chen, I've spent 42 years learning to recognize exactly these patterns. Pharmaceutical contamination has specific signatures that become obvious when you understand how manufacturing processes can be compromised. My retail position provided direct access to affected products and customer health data that revealed contamination effects before they appeared in federal monitoring systems. The investigation that followed exposed a domestic terrorism network that had been systematically contaminating supplement supply chains as part of a coordinated attack on American public health. Harold's analysis had prevented what could have been
a chronic poisoning affecting millions of consumers across multiple states. The story remained largely within pharmaceutical industry publications, protecting both operational security and Harold's privacy while ensuring that supplement safety protocols received improvements based on vulnerabilities that had been exploited by criminal organizations. Harold returned to his supplement store operations, serving customers with the same careful consultation that had characterized his pre-emergency work. But something had changed in his approach to product safety and his understanding of how his expertise could continue protecting public health. "Harold, thank you for catching that contamination problem," Martha Stevens said during the following week's visit. "I feel completely back to normal since switching to the products you recommended." Harold looked up from the supplement bottles he was organizing, his broad eyes holding the analytical intensity that had never quite disappeared. "Martha, ensuring product safety has been my life's work. Whether I'm doing it in a corporate laboratory or a retail store, the mission stays the same, making sure people can trust the products they use to support their health." "Were you really a pharmaceutical scientist?" Harold smiled, adjusting his shop apron that covered federal credentials he'd hoped never to need again. "I've spent my career making sure medications and supplements are safe for people like you. Now I get to apply that knowledge directly to helping individual customers rather than protecting millions of consumers I never meet." Dr. Thornton continued operating his supplement store until he was 83, serving as informal pharmaceutical safety consultant for the FDA while maintaining the trusted health resource that kept Springfield residents safe and informed about products that affected their well-being. Because he'd learned that the most effective health protection often comes from people whose expertise exceeds their visible roles, whose dedication continues regardless of official titles, and whose knowledge serves both individual customers and public safety, with equal commitment to ensuring that people can trust the substances they use to maintain their health.